To the average bystander, fighting games are nothing more than a blur of cartoony violence created by the waggling of some thumbsticks and the frantic tapping of buttons. To the connoisseur though, to someone who truly understands fighters, they are deep psychological battles where outthinking your opponent and predicting their every move is just as important as knowing how to pull off a 32-hit hyper combo in the blink of an eye. Capcom vs Mapcom vs what's it called again?
Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Fate of Two Worlds.
Oh yeah, that's it. Cheers, chap. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is the latest brawler to follow in the footsteps of Street Fighter 4, the awesome beat-em-up from Capcom which single-handedly resurrected the fighting genre, ripping it out of the failing 3D world and placing it smack back into a 2D-ish setting. Many developers are already rushing to capitalise on its retro-tastic success, such as the new Mortal Kombat game which is due for release this year, and now Capcom have decided to follow up their smash hit with Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and as a result have created one of the most bright, beautiful and brain-damaging brawlers ever. Honestly, if you had your noggin rewired so you could see sounds and hear colours, MVC3 in full flow would be the equivalent of standing smack bang in the middle of a slanging match between 50 angry bicycle horn wielding clowns. Each player is in control of a menage-a-trois of double-hard tough guys, ranging from huge brawling brutes such as the Incredible Hulk and Hagar from Final Fight, through to tiny comedy characters like Beautiful Joe and Arthur from Ghouls and Ghosts. There are over 32 Punchy Punch pals in the roster, 4 of which are unlockable as you progress through the story mode, with even more promised as DLC, and they really are a crazy mix of characters, including some very obscure ones which only dedicated fanboys would recognise. For example, Floating Face on a Testicle MODOK, who is a mysterious Marvel villain, and Painted Pooch Amaterasu, who hails from Capcom's PS2 wonder game Okami. They all look amazing, with their character models rendered in lovely hunky-chunky 3D, and once you get to grips with swapping between supporting characters or calling them in to fight for some cheeky assists, the on-screen action will pick up to such an extent that keeping your eyes on all the action and remembering who your fighter was will be a challenge in itself. Each fight is like an epic Dragon Ball Z battle, where the power level is over 9,000! It's like a triple shot of beat-down flavoured Alco Pops being forced down your gullet by a flurry of punches from Chuck Norris. Indulge in too much and it's likely to blow your head clean off. Now, before I go any further with this review, it's worth pointing out that I am what is known in the trade as a button basher. Basically, I don't really get beat-em-ups. All those tactics that pro players use in their matches, they're way beyond me. I just mash at the joypad and hope for the best, and because of this, a fighter like Street Fighter 4 is just too hardcore for me. I think I may have played around 300 matches online and never won one. Honestly, I'm abysmal, and the only character I know all the moves for is M. Bison. Weak! It came as a rather nice surprise then that Capcom have made MVC3 a lot more accessible to players of all skill levels. The fighting mechanics have been simplified to enable even novices like me to pull off some of the most amazing special moves you will ever have seen in a video game, while still leaving enough hidden depth for even the most dedicated of fighter fans to uncover. Before selecting your characters, you can choose between normal and simple control modes, and simple control mode does exactly what it says on the tin. It's a beginner's mode which lets you pull off the more impressive specials by pressing less buttons, and for an uncoordinated fighting fool like me, it's a blessing. Changes to the standard beat-em-up controls make the game even easier to use. Gone are the high kick, low punch, low punch buttons from fighters of old. Here the controls have been simplified to 4 attack buttons, 3 simple attacks ranging from light, medium and hard, which can be easily chained together to create impressive combos, with a 4th button for launching your foe skyward. Getting your enemies up in the air is a great way to deal damage, because if you're skilled enough to pull it off, which unfortunately I wasn't, you can set up team aerial combos which let you call in other fighters as you juggle your opponent in the air. New fighters mean you can hit your target higher and deal massive damage, but watch out because your enemy can attempt a counter move which will send you spiralling back to earth. It's all about timing and reading your opponent so you know which way they will throw you. These are basic skills that someone who has played the Street Fighter series for years will find easy as pie to pull off, while someone like me will just receive a humongous beating while waggling the thumbstick at 50 miles an hour with a dopey look on their face. Oh. This means that even though MVC3 is easy enough to play as a simple button basher, the true fighters, the guys who take this stuff seriously, will still be able to school a noob with ease. Nearly deaded? Then why not call in your X Factor power? No, it's not a special move involving Simon Cowell's square haircut. Bash all attack buttons at the same time to get a healthy Ready Breck style glow and a handy damage multiplier. Just what you need for that last ditch attempt at bringing someone down. Hadouken! Air combos and X Factors are all well and good, but the really impressive moves, the show-stopping action set pieces which really blow you away, are the hyper combos, which are charged up through the course of a match and can then be unleashed whenever you see fit. You can see how much hyper power you've built up by checking out the hyper bar at the bottom of the screen. By building up the bar you can advance in levels of hyper power, unleashing many smaller hyper combos in quick succession at level 1, or bide your time and build your power up to level 3 before pulling off a spectacular, super powered, multiple hitting hyper combo that involves all 3 of your characters. One of the coolest hyper combos I saw belonged to Marvel comic book hero Deadpool, who pulled the power bar and then the hyper bar from the screen and proceeded to batter Ryu to the ground with them. It looked cool and it was funny as hell. You can block these moves or even counter them with hypers of your own, but seriously, don't ask me how. My attacks and subsequent defense were all pulled off by fluke rather than talent. But with each play I'm starting to understand the basic practices more and more, so someday maybe even I could be a contender. But probably not. Marvel vs. Capcom has all the normal modes you would expect from a fighter, including training modes, versus modes, and a generic story mode for all your single player needs. It's fairly simple, nothing flashy, just a bunch of interconnected fights with an end boss, who could have and should have been awesome, but ends up being a bit of a letdown. Even the character endings are very bland, so there is not too much incentive to battle through multiple times, unless you're playing it on the hardest setting with something to prove. But all that doesn't really matter, because as with every beat 'em up, the real fun is found when you go head to head with humans, either on or offline. My time playing online was nicely lag-free considering the speed of the action, but of course I got my backside booted on multiple occasions by people far more experienced at fighters than me. The most fun I had with the game was when I invited a group of equally rubbish friends round for some drinks, and we had an absolute blast playing it. The room was a deafening mix of the electro-rave soundtrack and the furious pummeling of buttons and waggling of thumbsticks. Honestly, my forearms haven't been this tired since I was 14. Or something. With each new hyper combo discovered, people's jaws would drop and someone would either cheer or groan depending on who was on the receiving end of the devastating attack. And like all great beat-em-ups, the joypad never stayed still for long, constantly being passed around the room from one eager combatant to the next. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is an awesome fighter. It's a beautiful, hectic assault on the senses, but it's also very simple for beginners to get into, and thanks to the ease of use, it is probably my favourite ever fighting game. I'm slightly worried though that dedicated fighters, those beat-em-up purists who take pride in their skills at brawlers, might find it a bit too button basher friendly and be driven away from it because of this. But in reality, I don't really care about that. It serves them right for always kicking my ass. The bastards.